If you do not want to work, do not come to the University of Georgia. But if you want to win,
come to the University of Georgia.
Troop Smooch and the Dog Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dog Show. Your hosts, Troop Brinson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dog Show with Troop and Smooch. We have the best in the spring game G-Day coverage happening in this episode. And I will go ahead and say this right up front. You need to pull up YouTube. If you're not on YouTube right now,
100%.
Pull up YouTube. All the videos are going to be on there. The commentary is going to be on there. This is the place to be for this episode and for following episodes, but for this one for sure, because we got lots of video that you guys didn't get a chance to see if you were not in Athens Saturday for G-Day. And welcome, Smooch. And it's good to be on the air tonight following the first football game in several months.
Yeah, it was great. It was, like you said it perfectly. We were able to we sat on the 50. We digested the game. We were close to the field. We saw, we did all the analyzation. We're analyzing. Analyzation's not a word, is it? But we sat right there. We talked so much in the weeds and about the technical side of playbooks and things like that people around us started telling us we needed to have a show. And so we started handing out business cards.
Handling our card. Here's our card, by the way.
Funny you mentioned that.
Surprised you didn't recognize us already.
But yeah, we were joined by the Coach Hayes as well. And that
Coach Hayes Huddle. Yep. Right there with us.
Coach Hayes Huddle, and he sat right there with us, and that really that just brings you into the game because Coach is watching all of the, you think as a mega football fan like we are that we watch every little thing, and when you're around Coach, you realize that you see 3 or 4 levels deeper than the average football fan, and then Coach sees 3 or 4 levels deeper than you. And so it was a great time, and the game flew by without those TV timeouts.
Oh, man, did it. And you'll hear on some of these videos we're going to be showing you guys in this episode. You may hear me and Smooch talking in the background and kind of diagramming the play. Or you may hear Coach in the background as well, because me and Smooch are just videoing the specific plays. And you got to video a lot of plays to catch the right ones. But I think we did get a lot of the big plays to be able to send them to you guys. We knew the whole time that there were going to be fans who just weren't able to get to Athens that Saturday who wanted to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. And now I know they had a radio broadcast, but you want to see what these guys, you want to see what Zachariah Branch looks like, what kind of moves he has when he's got the ball in his hands, what kind of ball skills does he have?
Yeah.
You want to see Sokobe White. You want to see Elias Williams.
Come on.
And Jeremy Bell, who, Jeremy Bell's a walk-on, but he was a guy who, like, what are you doing? And we heard he was like, did they call him Flight? That was his nickname in high school, Flight, because he had his athletic ability was that demonstrative. He was a basketball player, football player, just extraordinary abilities, and walk on still. And so he showed out the other day, Saturday, and then you had, and then we talk about some of the other guys, like I said, Ethan Barbour, another guy we really wanted to see him, and Bo Walker. We saw him. Yeah. Everybody had an opportunity to show some things Saturday, and we called a lot of it. This is just kind of recapping the spring game, but let's dive down into what happened Saturday.
Let's do it.
And no matter where you fought, it was 34-17 final score. It doesn't matter. They kind of quarterbacks moved back and forth. We had 4 different quarterbacks play, but that was, if I, as a football watcher and a Georgia fan, had to narrow it down to what, even though if I didn't go into the game thinking that way, what I narrowed it down to that meant the most to me, what I evaluated the most, and what I was still trying to let it sink in is the quarterback play. And was it so you got to see you got to see almost 88 passes, almost 90 passes.
Yeah, 90
passes. Mostly between Ryan Puglisi and Gunnar Stockton. We needed to see that. Those guys needed that practice.
Yeah, they did.
Regardless of what we saw as a fan, those guys needed that experience in front of a crowd and with the spotlights on you. They needed to have that experience with a little pressure, and that's the most. Even Gunnar Stockton, Smooch, this is the most. Even when he played in the Notre Dame game in the quarterfinals, this is the most opportunity he's got with most
100%.
passes and just unleashing the whole offense for him that he's had. And so we got a chance to see both those quarterbacks.
Yeah, I thought the quarterbacks looked good. I was looking to see, number one, what the disparity was between quarterback one and quarterback two. Is there a controversy?
There was a gap.
Yeah, what is the gap? And there is a gap. Gunner's the guy. And then on defense, you're never looking to see, anything uber spectacular, but I just wanted to see no busts, no busted coverages, nobody horribly out of position. There were no busts in coverage. There were some beautiful passes made, but they weren't to wide open receivers. I really liked that. Even though everything is vanilla, the defense was assignment sound. And I was encouraged by that. So the defense played well and the offense played well. I think you can say both those things.
Well, I will say that in the first quarter, and I haven't read anybody saying this, that was even actually at the game. I've read different pundits talk about what happened at the G-Day game. I don't think they're mentioning that in that first quarter, Kirby had to have a mandate to the referees not to blow whistles.
100%.
Because the offense was seriously hamstrung by the lack of calls. There were passing plays where the defender had his jersey just pulling it away from him on a one-on-one coverage. It's obvious to everybody, and the crowd is like, "Oh, no call, no flag."
At least 3 or 4 times. Yeah, on scoring plays.
3 times that I counted.
Yeah.
That they were obvious defensive pass interference calls on one-on-one coverage, and we were like, no flag. I was looking at Kirby, it was like, okay, I hear you. You giving these guys. I thought it might be for the whole game. It was just the first quarter.
It was just the first quarter.
As that second quarter started, penalty.
Yeah.
Penalty here. They started calling it even.
Yeah, I think I haven't heard anyone else mention that either. I haven't heard it covered anywhere else, but it was obvious if you were in the stadium that there was no such thing as defensive holding or defensive pass interference for the first quarter. And like you said, right after it, the flag started falling. But I guess he just wanted to see them play tough. That might be something they do on a Bloody Tuesday or whatever, But see if you can really get open. So with a guy water skiing behind you.
Very physical. You're going to find physical games. You got to play through it. And so I don't hold that against people. Say the offense started slow. Guess why? If you are really harping on the offense starting slow, I promise you, there's maybe 10, maybe 14 more points scored early on.
Right.
If they just decide to call it like a regular football game and it's not Kirby Smart kind of pulling the strings on that one, because after that things did open up, especially in the second half. But after that, things started to open up pretty well. I did looking at those quarterbacks, Smooch. I saw good things. There was nothing that from these top 2 quarterbacks that I saw that made me really worried. But I saw Gunnar Stockton do what I expected him to do. He throws the ball much better than I thought he did at this time last year.
I
He's
agree.
a good passer. And he can run the ball. He's going to run through tackles. That's the thing you can't accommodate for or count for in the spring game. He's going to run through arm tackles. He's going to get extra yards. He's going to pick up first downs. And in the spring game, you're just not going to do that. But he was good. He was good with the penalties as the penalties were in the first half of the first quarter. They called those. Some of those drives would have been extended. You just saw him, and I still put up a lot of points. It was still like 51 points put up. So I saw that from him. I saw him being able to control the offense, and he wasn't as Now we'll talk about this. Why he didn't have huge numbers throwing the ball in terms of his completion percentage, and Puglisi showed me exactly what I thought I'd see for Puglisi. You could see the raw ability, and he made some passes that I was very impressed with. But it's the learning curve from being able to make those passes to being able to move the chains. and being able to make it on third down and get another fresh set of downs. That's the difference. He can make those just wow top passes and
he can
push the ball downfield and hit it in tight windows. But it's the ability to continuously do that, move to change, and be able to be adaptable and adjustable when you need to.
Yeah.
And to keep your fresh set of downs. But I saw both those things from those guys, pretty much what I expected.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, with Gunner, I saw the swagger. I don't think we saw it as much last year. He's drinking out of a fire hose last year. He came in the way you would never want to break a quarterback in an SEC title game, right? But Gunner looked like the leader. He looked like a gunslinger, and I love the fact that he trusts, if his receiver's one-on-one, he's trusting that guy to come down with the ball. I love that, and that's what you saw time and again. If a guy was one-on-one, Gunner trusted him to come down with it. He put it up there where the guy could go make a play. Loved it. With Puglisi.
I love that. I love smooching. I'll let you get to Puglisi, but I just want to comment what you said. I love quarterbacks who see a one-on-one matchup and trust their receiver. And so we saw that a lot Saturday. The one-on-one situation, throw it out there, let them make a play.
Yeah, I love that. And you'll see as we go through our film clips, or as we just kind of talk, you'll see there's a chemistry developing between him and Sokovie and him and Colby Young. There's an undeniable trust there. But with Puglisi, you know what? You covered everything I saw with his throwing. I had no idea what an athlete Puglisi is. This idea that Gunner's the runner and Puglisi is just the pocket guy. Puglisi can pick them up and put them down, as they say. He is a much more athletic in person than I got from watching his game film.
That's exactly right. We noticed that during the game. We're like, okay, because when it wasn't there, he tucked it and took off. And as long as in a spring game, nobody's there to just touch you. They touch you, it should be blown dead right there. Sometimes it was in that game. Sometimes it wasn't. But Puglisi's very capable of picking up extra yardage, and he's an athlete. Good looking athlete, beautiful athlete. And so I feel good about both those guys and the development from here. And through, I mean, there's lots more opportunity for development. Those guys to get on the same page with the wide receivers.
Yeah.
But as far as them and the offense, because I think it's one of the biggest issues is how's Georgia's offense going to look, because if you'd have told me a year ago that Carson Beck was going to go down with injury during the season, I would have said that Gunner Stockton was going to lead a much different offense than Beck could ever lead, because it was going to be a run-heavy physical offense, which I'm okay with. If you structured the team that way, I feel like Georgia's got the athletes to really put teams in a bad spot physically. Offensive line, the running backs, and with Gunner Stockton. But he stayed in the pocket a lot Saturday and just delivered the ball. And it's only because Georgia's defense is really, and we'll touch on this. I want to talk about offense first, but Georgia's defense is really good.
Yeah.
They were always – I mean, there was not much area to throw. The windows were very small to complete passes.
We saw, we saw tight areas. We saw clean pass breakups. Those are rare. We saw clean pass breakups. And we saw the pocket. We saw pass rush, a push in the pocket. We saw as well. Of course, they're not letting them touch the quarterback, but all of those things you like to see. And we'll get to the offense, but last year we were just driven nuts by people being able to get around the edge on the Dogs, and that did not happen yesterday. No one got around the edge on that defense.
Yeah. And so offensively, the quarterbacks were very good. And I've read in the last couple of days that Georgia's quarterbacks were suspect, and so they're going to look in the portal for a new different quarterback or another depth at quarterback. No, that's nothing's changing with that. These guys are very, very good. And and when you see Georgia's defense unveiled in the fall, I think you're going to know why. And I want to save that because I got things to say about that. Offensively, the offensive line was not great, especially in the first half. They've got 3 injuries on the offensive line. And so you got guys playing against the ones against on Georgia's defense. Well, they don't care. They don't care if you're a backup or a second or third stringer. They are abusing you.
And these are guys that might not even play this year. We're starting. Yeah.
We saw we saw defenders get in the backfield and just kind of raise their hands rather than hit the quarterback. I'm like,
I'm here.
If that was, I mean, from the blind side, I'm like, he's taking his head off if that's a real game.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no blocking him. And plus blocking him from a Georgia.
Yeah.
They struggled a bit. And so there was no running the ball. Georgia didn't run the ball whatsoever. You didn't see much running whatsoever. Frazier, no room at all. No, I don't care how good you are. No room to run the ball.
Yeah.
The best running back we saw Saturday was Chauncey Bowens.
Yes.
And Chauncey Bowens a little thicker, and he's got some wiggle too. So he caught the ball out of the backfield. He did everything. Yeah. He ran. In the second half, he had some nice runs, and he made defenders miss. He caught a couple passes across the line of scrimmage and made some plays where it got picked up first down. You saw number 33, Chauncey Bowens, looked pretty dang good. I'm like, okay, well, let's don't forget about Bowens. We were watching for Bo Walker, who did some of the same things, maybe on just a slightly lesser scale than Bowens. Yeah. But the two best running backs that we did see Saturday were Bowens and Bo Walker. Those were the guys that we were watching, and those were the guys that stood out the most. I think Georgia's running back depth is going to be just fine. And I like what I saw from both those guys.
Yeah, Bowens was aggressive and decisive. He put his foot in the ground and he went. Had more wiggle than I thought. Showed it on a like you said, on a little short pass play. He probably did average that, over 4.5 yards a carry, which nobody else came close in that game carrying the ball because everything was stuffed up. I thought he looked good. And Bo Walker, you can see it. Bo Walker, if you guys can remember this player from back in the I want to say 80s, maybe early 90s. His name was Steve Broussard, and he was a first-round draft pick. Him and Bo Walker, they move so similarly. They're low, they're squat, and they got thick legs, and they are hard. He's like a bowling ball, like a wrecking ball coming through, and lots to build on there for Bo. So that was good, and when it was all said and done, Frazier had a touchdown. He didn't get much else going on, but we know what we've got in Nate Frazier. So,
yeah, it's good. It's good. We really wanted to see the other guys. So we know what Frazier's all about. He's going to be the main workhorse for the Georgia offense. But seeing Bowens have that shake about him and be able to make people miss. See, that's the thing. You can be a big, stout running back and just try to bulldoze people, but he was making guys miss. Yeah. And making that first guy miss. And then just the arm tackle was not bringing him down. He's not that kind of back that you're going to reach out and put a hand on his calf and bring him down. He's not going down. He's going to run through that and get 5-10 extra yards. So I like seeing that. Those guys did what I needed to see. And now let's move on to the wide receiver core.
There you go.
Also talking about those tight ends. And Smooch, the wide receivers that I saw, I mean, we wanted to see everybody. The wide receivers that I saw that made the most of their time, I love what C.J. Wiley did. He looked the part. He looked like an SEC receiver. He made a couple of tough catches. Made one really tough catch.
Made a
just a spinning catch.
Yeah.
In traffic, and just a physical guy. And he's got long arms. His skill set will play immediately for Georgia. If they choose to put him in there, his skill set's going to play immediately for Georgia. We wanted to see Talon Taylor. He didn't break out in the spring game as much. We saw him. They tried to get him the ball a couple of times. Maybe the quarterback was a little bit off on some passes. So he didn't get quite that opportunity to shine for his skill set. But you put something up there with that in the workouts with him, the pregame workouts, where he was just smooth. Yeah. So smooth and so quick and out of the breaks and just hard to cover.
I believe, Troop Brinson, that Talon Taylor was one of those guys that had beat his man and was held in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, that was breaking free, and the guy had the jersey pull back. That was Talon, I believe, in one of them. I'm not positive. I'll go find it. But, yeah, I thought, C.J. Wiley, he's ready to put – we said this before. We said this when the recruiting class signed, that Wiley might be the most SEC ready of the receivers coming in. He certainly looked like it. Talon is a freak athlete, guys. You don't have to worry about that. These two are going to really make opposing defenses miserable to come. But Troop, we got a walk-on named Bell, a returning senior named Bell, and
Micah Bell too.
and Micah Bell. And then we got a guy coming back after missing most of last year in Colby Young, and they all showed out yesterday.
Yeah, so the players on the receiving core, I'll name the guys that made the most impact as a fan that I noticed, and we'll go with Zachariah Branch. Okay, let's name him. He's special, and I didn't know if I thought he may be just a name that Georgia's getting excited about. He's from the West Coast. He was highly recruited, but when he gets to Georgia, he's not going to have that same ability when he gets here. He's going to kind of get washed away. But no, he's not. He makes contested catches, and he's got as a returner. If they'd have just played that, he would have had huge yardage as a returner. Saturday.
He's electric. Every time he's electric. Yeah,
he really is. Yeah. So Zachariah Branch, Colby Young looked good. He almost had too big. He had one catch. It was just out of bounds for a touchdown. He just stepped out of bounds, but it was a beautiful twisting, turning, leaping catch at the high point that's the player you need at that point. So Colby Young's going to be a difference maker this year. Yeah. So Zach Branch, Colby Young, Dylan Bell made a couple of nice catches, and we know what he's about. He can do it all. Yes, I also really liked Ethan Barbour, and it's Barber or Barbour. They used him a lot. He was all over the field. He had one drop, but he had some plays where you just see him separate. You see him put defenders in bad spots, and he's a player that Georgia is going to utilize. I don't have any doubt that as a freshman, Barbour is SEC ready, just like Wiley is. He's going to get in there and play. They may not use him as a tight end. They may use him as a hybrid or whatever. Think about him with a couple other tight ends in there. They're going to use Barbour. He's a different kind of a cat with great hands and physicality. Other players
on that though, before you go any further, with Barbour, it's one thing to have the height and the long arms. He has an SEC ready frame and body right now. You have to see it in person to get it. He is thick and he's muscled up. Some of these guys, they come in and they may be 6'5" or whatever, but you can tell they're not ready to be hit by these monsters in the SEC. Barbour has the body right now, and he looked every bit the part, Drew Brinson.
And it played out. They don't target a guy like that as much as they did. I mean, did they target him 7 or 8 times in the spring game?
Yeah,
a freshman? As a tight end, he was targeted a lot. And that tells me that he's going to be utilized in this offense this coming year. They're not waiting on him. He's ready to play. We got to see Elias Williams as well. The gigantic monster reminds me maybe in a year of what Washington looked like for Georgia, the Big O. Yeah, and he may play that same kind of role. Put him next to a tackle, and there's nobody coming around that side. He is so strange. Put him next to Jaw Jackson, and then tell me what can happen. Nothing.
Gosh. That is a lot.
Jaw
of
Jackson's another guy, 6'9".
Oh my gosh.
You got a front line on an NBA basketball team when you got Jaw Jackson and Elias Williams right there. Just they don't look the same as everybody else.
I would be surprised to find out that Jaw Jackson is only 6'9". He looked like a zoological cryptid running around out there. I mean, just a gigantic dude. And but yeah, Elias Williams, everything that we've heard proved to be very accurate. He's capable of unbelievable feats of athleticism, and at this point, capable of lapses in concentration too. We saw both of those.
So they did drop a wide open touchdown pass on a slant, a little quick pass. It was right there in his hands, and we heard that he'll not drop the easy ones right now. Now, he'll make the tough catches, and he's an imposing presence out there. I did see Jeremy Flight Bell, a walk-on who doesn't look like a walk. He looks like a high 4-star receiver.
Yes.
Athlete. He can play anywhere. I think he can play running back. He looks like, how did we get that guy?
Right.
How did we get Jeremy Bell as a walk-on? He won't be a walk-on for long. They'll be paying him money one way or the other because he had a touchdown catch. Looked like an SEC player right away. We also saw the same thing from Sokovi White had a drive where he just took over, had 2 sensational catches. One for a first down, another for a touchdown. So Kobe White was like, okay, don't forget about me.
Back-to-back plays, right? Wasn't it back-to-back plays? Yeah.
Back-to-back. Check this out right here. We got it on video. So, yeah. But that's what we needed, Smooch. We needed to see this wide receiver group, a talent infusion. And when I say wide receiver, I include the tight ends because they're receivers in this Georgia offense just the same. And there's such a talent infusion right now. I'm like, okay, who are we going to upset by not getting enough snaps? Because there's enough guys in there. There's enough seniority, enough guys with experience, and enough newcomers coming in there to just make a huge difference for this quarterback in this offense.
Yeah, you could see it. It's an embarrassment of riches. Who's going to get the ball? How are they going to distribute it? What's the season going to shake out like? What is the rotation going to be? We really weren't even hinted at that, but we did. We can tell you that certain players are going to be impossible to keep off the field. And like you said, one of them was definitely Barbour, but I really think the other is Jeremy Bell. I mean, Troop, he had 3 touchdowns at the scrimmage last week. So that's 4 touchdowns in 8 days for him, or 7 days, 8. Yeah, 7 days for him. That's pretty darn good if you're playing the home game. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about walk on. I don't know how they slipped that one in there. I don't know what promises they had to make him, but he is not a walk on type player at all.
You know, his dad.
And you saw.
Yeah, his dad commented on our post and said something like, "Your wait is almost over." So you know that chip on the shoulder, watching all those other guys get those stars when you're better, faster, more athletic than them, which is true. We've had 4 stars last year at Georgia that could not hold a candle athletically to Jeremy Bell. So.
Yeah, get him. Mike White might need to get him on the basketball team too. I bet he can, because we saw, like I said, Jeremy Flight Bell. He can get up and make some plays. Mm-hmm. So before we talk about the defense, I will say, and this is just me, the biggest overall concern going into the fall camp and summer drills, it can be alleviated, but it's still, I think it's going to hinge on the quarterback position.
Yes,
and I think Gunnar Stockton, but how good can Gunnar Stockton be? And if this was Stetson Bennett in his senior year walking in this position, I would be like,
it's about to get crazy.
It's going to get nuts. It's going to be nuts. I'm just hoping that Gunnar can find his way into that role. And we don't know. I think he has the ability. It's just going to be getting it done. Mm-hmm. And after this year, when we look back, we might be like, Gunnar is that dude. He's just that dude. Or we may be like, oh well, he's kind of like the placeholder. So it's the difference between being a placeholder for the next guy,
that's good,
or being that dude that leads you to great things. And it's still, we don't know that yet. But I will say that's the biggest question in my mind. I think offensive line's got plenty of talent there, and I think all the skill players are in place. So we'll see how that plans out. I do want to talk about, and I've been kind of holding this to talk about it at the end of the spring game conversation, is Georgia's defense. And so I mentioned this last week in our episode that, leading into that 2021 season, I was like, okay, well, these guys, we had good recruiting classes. I don't know those guys. I didn't really know much about Quay Walker or Channing Tindall or Devontae White or Lewis Singh. They were just names. They were guys who were highly recruited. Now, I knew who Kobe Dean was. I knew some of obviously I knew Trayvon Walker.
And Jalen Carter, we knew those guys. Yeah.
I didn't know who Jalen Carter was. Another highly recruited guy, just playing, backup right now. I didn't know those guys. So I knew who Nolan Smith was, and Keely Ringo, but those were guys still trying to make names for themselves. Nobody had a season that we were going to look back 10 years from now and be like, damn, that guy was that dude. We didn't know that.
Right.
I want you guys to pay attention to me. We have some of those dudes on this defense that whether they execute and take that step in this next couple of seasons, I can't accurately predict, but I will tell you, if I was betting money, I would look at some of these guys like Justin Williams and Chris Cole at linebacker. Those guys, any other team, they are locked down. Those guys are getting all the snaps. You're not getting them off the field.
Right.
And for Georgia, they still got to find a way to move C.J. Allen, who is the unquestioned leader on this defense and an amazing player, and Raylan Wilson, one of the best athletes on the team. You still got to work with those guys. And you may not know. You may know the name of Jordan Hall. You may know Kristen Miller. You may know Jonah Ajonye. You may know those names kind of a little bit, but you don't know in a year or two whether you're going to be looking back and say, we had all those guys on the same defense. I haven't even talked about the defensive backs who we are loaded. We're so loaded at defensive backs. We had freshmen making plays this week. We had to look up and say, who is this guy? I thought he was a transfer. Nope. Four-star
freshman.
DB.
Yeah.
You think that 4-star DBs grow on trees and everybody gets them? They do not. They do not. And we're loading up those guys like Dominic Kelly and then the transfers and Adrian Maddox to go with 5-star players in the defensive backfield.
Yeah. And it showed. It showed with the pass breakups. It showed. Yeah.
I'm not going to handle this with restraint. Mm-hmm. What I saw Saturday defensively has the opportunity to be one of those iconic Georgia defenses. And it's on every level. And it's not just freshmen you're counting on. These are guys who have experience. These are guys who are ready, who are hungry to take that next step, who've already been in the system a year or two. They're ready. And you got those guys you got like Dalen Everett and CJ Allen in their third year, Raylan Wilson in his third year, and Christian Miller in his fourth year. You got those guys too in there. And Xavier McLeod, he's a third year player, second year in Georgia's program. Mm-hmm. You got that mix of just talent and immense ability. Gabe Harris, I don't want to not talk about him. You got and Chris Jones. They're gonna move him into a outside linebacker position. You have so much talent there. Jonel Aguero, dude, I just can't name them all. These are guys who have an opportunity this year to make a legendary leap forward in Georgia's history.
I completely agree. And that's what we saw. You know, there were points
given up. Did I oversell
it? No, I don't think you did. There were points given up in the game because there were some perfect throws made and even better plays made on the ball. But what we saw overall from that defense was aggressive and swarming and fast. You know, I don't want to say this.
And Smooch getting in the backfield and holding her hands up like, okay, I won't tackle you. I'm gonna let you go.
That's back to vintage Jalen Carter, where you get through the line so fast that you just stop and say, I don't want to get in trouble by running over this guy, and you just kind of stand there.
And we had defenders get in the backfield and just tapping the quarterback on the shoulder, and usually coach would have said, okay, play dead. They let some of that go. Like, nah, I keep playing. Like, just tap him on the shoulder. I got you.
Let him throw the ball. And the coach knows what it means, and. But absolutely, I thought that the screens, the quick screen, there wasn't a single one. The longest gain on a screen was 7 yards, and it was the only positive play that it was a screen pass. I thought that was good. Some big hits when they needed them. And like I said, they're just flying to the ball. You saw it. And you saw actual pass breakups on well-thrown balls where the defender makes a really good play. Legally makes a good play. Yeah.
And there's two names I didn't even mention, the two highest rated defenders, I guess, well, three names really. Elijah Griffin, who played a lot and looked the part. Isaiah Gibson, very, very, very high level defensive end. Mm-hmm. And Zayden Walker, he got in there and played too. So three of the highest rated defensive recruits we couldn't even talk about. Yeah. But they are going to be in the mix as well, learning how to play Georgia football. You said it right. Because even the passes, like I heard, so I read this and I was shaking my head because we were right on the 50. We saw everything that happened. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's because he's a Swainsboro guy, but I read a big name pundit say, well, DeMello Jones had a rough Saturday. I'm like, is that what you saw? No, what you saw? He was on the field for like 40 something passes. I saw that. Yeah. Physical, in phase, everywhere, right where he needed to be, which is what you need. And the two passes that I saw completed on him, one, he pushed Colby Young out of bounds, and the end zone right there on him. Had to be a perfect pass. It was a perfect pass, but right on the edge of the sideline in the end zone, and he defended him as well as he could, covering a 6'5" guy who you want to go up and high point the ball out of bounds, incomplete, and a pass over the middle to Dylan Bell that had to be executed perfectly. It was on time, perfect. When you execute as a defense, Georgia's defense made you execute perfectly just to complete a pass.
That's the point. That's the point of the whole show for how the defense played. They had to execute perfectly on offense, and they did a number of times. But that's all you can ask of your defense is to make the other team do something extraordinary to be successful. And that's what happened.
Yeah, we saw so many DBs right on the receiver on slants. I mean, how many times does Georgia give up? I mean, how hard is it to cover a slant over a middle? It's hard.
It's really hard for
we
Georgia.
We had DBs right there, just reaching out, slapping it right there on the same route with the guy, knocking it down. I'm like, you got to be perfectly in time and reading that play. Maybe it's because you've covered these guys before in practice. I don't know, but the defense was really well. The other thing that I think you guys are going to enjoy seeing this year, and we didn't see Gabe Harris. He was hurt. He's injured. He's getting labrum surgery. I think that's what it was. But I saw like a couple plays with, and I'm going to keep saying his name, number 99, Ajanye.
Yeah,
Just a abnormally large human with athletic ability that he shouldn't be blessed with at that size.
Yeah,
and so he's getting out on the edge and chasing guys half his size.
Yeah,
and he's making them make a business decision. And then as he makes you pause for a second, you got C.J. Allen looking like Nakobe Dean.
Yeah,
Sliding in there and taking you out, making a tackle. So that's what we need at the defensive end, the edge position, is to cover that up, have the speed and ability to get out there. You can't get upfield, and then having a linebacker come in there and just take you down. And Georgia's has so many the biggest depth position on Georgia's team is that linebacker position. So they got 100%. Lots of guys who can fly in there and make tackles, and none of them are freshmen trying to figure out the speed of the game. They're ready to play right now. So I love seeing Ajanye and do that. And that's the thing I'm looking forward to so much. I'm thinking he's going to be that guy next year that Georgia's he's going to make a name for himself.
Yeah, I would think after 2 more seasons at Georgia, Ajanye's a top 5 NFL draft pick. I mean, if you want to talk, but when you're talking about ability, you can see it flash, so. and he's got his head down. He's doing everything he's asked to do right now. Yeah, for me, Ajanye and Elijah, if Elijah comes in and contributes as a freshman, and Ajanye takes a step, that's an entirely different defensive line than we would have without the 2 of them. I'm really interested to see how that happens, because a lot of people do not realize what value Jalen Carter was, even as a young buck, him and Jordan Davis, because of the way when you get push in the middle, everything else is set up. And so you see those guys back then, Trayvon and Beal flying around and making the play. That was because there was no room in the inn up the middle, so to speak. And we didn't have that last year. We didn't have someone that collapsed it and created havoc all the time. We had Jalen Walker, a one-man wrecking crew, but we didn't have someone that delivered that body blow to the offensive line before the speed demons jump in and make the play. It looked like that's coming back this year.
Yes, the talent on the defensive line. Get ready, folks. Get ready. They have that talent.
Yeah, and
what that does is allow for your skill players on defense, or really your high quality, high level skill players, or your linebackers. And Georgia has that. There's nobody in the country with a linebacking core with depth that Georgia has. A quality depth, quality. 5 stars littered. They got 5 stars sitting on the bench trying to get 5 snaps a game. Yeah. And so that's those guys that clean up. That's those guys that when you got a really good defensive line that's causing havoc, those are the fellas that get through their clean. And they make a lot of tackles. Now, Dalen Everett didn't play at defensive back. What we did see was Daniel Harris looked really good. He had a pick.
He made it. It was a beautiful pick.
Route.
Yeah, it was a deep out to in the end zone, gets in perfect position, makes the play, and gets his feet down. Just displayed phenomenal wide receiver-esque ball skills.
So yeah, look at Daniel Harris. He is not, the main thing was the competition. It looks like Dalen Everett is going to have that one cornerback spot locked up. So you're looking at 3 guys. I said 3 right now. Before the spring game, I said 3. I was looking at, of course, Daniel Harris, Ellis Robinson IV, and DeMello Jones. Oh, high-quality player. All look good Saturday. And then Dominic Kelly.
There you go. That's what I was going to say.
24. Dominic Kelly comes in there. He's involved in everything, and he's not looking – it's not in a bad way. He had an interception on Pugs, and but there wasn't just that. It wasn't just one play we talk about where maybe a bad pass. No, he was making plays everywhere.
All over the field. He was in it every time. Yep.
And 2 other players we didn't even mention, 2 transfers, Smooch. Zion Branch. He's brother of Zachariah. Looked good. He was very integral in that defense as well. Made tackles. You saw number 2 everywhere. And Adrian Maddox also making tackles.
Adrian Maddox looked good.
Again, just those guys, I'm like, and Jonel Aguero, they picked on him a little bit. I don't know if he was playing a star. I couldn't pick out where he was playing watching the offense, but they picked on him. He probably gave up the most receptions. Yeah. But nothing where he's a blown coverage. Just getting picked on because that's just where the play led to. But just a lot of players, and I think most programs will be very envious of this group of players that Georgia's going to be dealing with. You know, when we have to also consider that some of these guys, based off what they saw in the spring game before, they may look to the transfer portals opening up. They may be Georgia may lose 3 to 5 players.
Sure.
So that depth chart definitely matters, and the players are going to see it and they're going to find out where they fit, and hopefully have a conversation with the coaches about where do you see me and what's my role here, and what are they better off going somewhere else, because Georgia's still got to get down to that player limit, at some point. So expect to see that. We're going to have some attrition, but if Georgia wants to keep them, hopefully they keep the main players. We don't have any guys who are in a too deep that leave.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some. It's just the nature of the beast. You can't keep them all, especially in today's market. It just doesn't happen. But I will tell you, Troop, last year, I think the frustrating thing wasn't the play on the field. It wasn't losing 3 games. It really wasn't any of that. Those were all symptoms. Those were all results. It was a slip in culture and chemistry last year. There was a slip. There was a step backward taken rather than a step forward. Now, we'd seen this team step forward for 5 straight seasons, better in chemistry and in the locker room each season, and we took a step backward last year. That appears to be gone. This team was – think about when when Colby Young caught that touchdown, he was out of bounds, but they called it a touchdown. The Dogs' defensive players, they were going nuts. Kristen Miller's out on the field. He's out on the field pointing at the screen. That meant so much to them. Even though they knew this game counted for nothing, it meant so much to them. That's the type of the chemistry and the camaraderie you want to see, the way they act when Gunner steps onto the field. Those are all things we slipped in last year, and it really seems that the ship has been righted, Troop Brinson.
Yep. As we've said the past 3 or 4 episodes, the squeaky wheel will get the grease, and Georgia's addressing those things. You can see it. You can see it Saturday, and I think these 2 quarterbacks having to practice against these guys and these freaks in the middle of the field, when you got linebackers who could probably play line of scrimmage sometimes and come off the edge. You can come off the edge a lot. Honestly, You're going to have some of these linebackers. So many linebackers, these guys are coming off the edge to give you some pass rush, and then they can cover. So seeing when you can do that, that kind of sets you apart. It's very similar to what Georgia did offensively a couple of years ago with Washington and Bowers. When you have those kind of just unusual talents grouped together, then you can do so much that is push you in a bad spot defensively. Well, Georgia defensively with their linebackers can put you in a really tough spot, being able to cover, being able to pass rush, being able to tackle, all those things together. And having guys, if somebody gets injured, they're not going to take a drop off and ability and quality. And so that was after the game. We always talk about offense and quarterbacks and receivers, but I was giddy watching this defense. I'm like, oh my goodness. I had a hard time not to say I'm surprised we scored anything. I feel like the game was kind of geared towards scoring and the passing and stuff, but also Kirby Smart knows what he has on this defense, and he was not going to allow this defense just to wreck this whole game. He was especially at the first quarter. He gave the guys a chance to look. We're not calling defensive pass interference. After that, no, I'm not.
He also had them dropping back in. He also had them dropping back in zone in the second quarter too, instead of that aggressive man. And so, he put the dog on the leash a little bit because that he
did. When I see defenders break through the line of scrimmage and just tap a quarterback on the shoulder, and Kirby Smart just kind of lets it play out. I'm like, oh, okay, he doesn't want to just abuse them. It hurt the confidence of the offense. He was letting them play a little bit. Otherwise, that defense could not have been stopped if he would have turned them loose. And there was 100. No stunts. There was no pass rush. They weren't trying to do anything exotic whatsoever. It's just, they weren't doing that at all. And I think in the next we're in 5 or 6 months, Georgia's going to put together a defense you guys are going to be so excited about seeing on the field. And there's so many guys, so many weapons that they have defensively. We may lose a couple in this next couple of weeks, but hopefully we hold on to the main guys. But it was good to get out there. It was beautiful weather, amazing weather.
Perfect.
We're also going to talk about, we did from the street Saturday, talk about the breaking news of it still hasn't really settled in that Nico is not, after all the talk, so much as him being such a special player that was going to transform Tennessee into a national championship team.
Man,
now he's not going to be a Tennessee.
Because first of all, it's Tennessee.
There you go. Yeah, it was.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked as well. We thought from the beginning the assumption that you're going to throw a few $1 million at a kid that had no interest in Tennessee, and then he's suddenly going to bleed orange for you. Felt silly when he was coming out of high school. You don't get to skip steps. You've got to create a recruiting culture, and they do not have one in Knoxville yet. But you live by the sword, you die by the sword. That's the Nico thing in a nutshell.
Yeah, if you didn't tune in to last week's episode, we did cover two quarterbacks we wanted to follow this coming year in the SEC, Nico and Lagway for Florida.
And now we got to follow Texas Tech to follow Nico.
Wherever he goes. Yeah, we mentioned that a minute ago that maybe Texas Tech has the most money to give him. Yeah. I don't know, because it seems like at this point the Nico saga is about money, and why it really is, because he was making close to $2.5 million this year. Smooch, I would do that. I'd be fine with that.
I'd play for half that.
Unless you, do you think that he thinks this is the last payday? He's playing it like he's his last payday, because
it may be now.
This is gonna follow him. You don't think the NFL general managers are gonna care about how this transpired?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think this matters? You don't think when they interview these guys as part of the drafting process that this kind of character issue is a big part of, do I want you a part of my organization? I don't care what he does this next year, where he ends up. Going to cost him money in the long run. It's going to. Nobody's going to trust you. You can't be trusted when you can be at a premier school in the SEC that just made the playoffs with the starting role. There's no playing time question, which is the reason why a lot of these players will hit the transfer portal. Playing time issues is 99% of the issue.
Yeah.
No. That was not the problem here.
Nope.
This offense was built around Nico.
Yeah.
Everything was built around him to have an epic season. He's gone. And that's why people are saying, what is going on with college football? We got to make, if we didn't know before, we got to make some big changes to how this goes, how it's handled from a team standpoint, from a player standpoint, from an agent standpoint, whatever, from an NCAA standpoint, if that's even a thing now. But it's shocking to me that a situation like this went that route, because we were talking about it a little bit, but it was just for fun. I was like, oh, okay, this is like a negotiation. He's not leaving Tennessee. This is just a negotiation. It's just people saying what they hear. But no, Tennessee said, we're not doing this. Yeah. You're not worth $4 million or whatever you want. You're not.
Yeah.
And we're not going to play this game. Fine. I mean, this conversation is over and we're moving on.
Well, I can guarantee you this, Troop. I guarantee you there's more to this that has to do with locker room chemistry as well. The fact that all of a sudden Tennessee decided to call his bluff, all of a sudden Tennessee decided to play hardball, all of a sudden Tennessee decided not to have a superstar culture. No, they didn't do it all of a sudden. This was a slow burn. I would be willing to bet a large sum of money on it that he is probably scorched earth, burned relationships in that locker room, and this was the latest thing. And he missed practice. He tried to hold the team hostage with his talent, and the team did not blink. And that is so out of character for a Josh Heupel-led organization that I know it had to have been one thing after another till they finally said, enough, enjoy Tulane or North Carolina or Texas Tech. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because if this was Georgia and this was Jake Fromm,
right,
who at some point in his last year said, okay, you guys, I got it. You're going to have to pay up to keep me here.
Yeah.
It's a different situation, and people have their opinions about Jake Fromm. Maybe not the best.
Jake Fromm was a much better quarterback than Nico. I'll say that.
He was. He really was. But minus James Coley as the offensive coordinator, absolutely correct. And But you're right. So there were some things that led up to this that they were okay with moving on from him. That didn't just happen in 2 days. And Josh Pate put out something, and we heard, and we kind of jumped the gun on this. We're going to save this for later, but it's right on the tip of our tongues right now. So we heard that they were players holding out before the playoffs as leverage. Did you read this today?
I did see that.
As leverage before the playoffs, after the regular season, when the playoffs were beginning, they were players, not just Nico, other players holding out as leverage. Like, okay, well, the contract, whatever we signed, where we talked about the money was for the regular season, and this is going to be more to keep me.
Wow.
And for more for me to play. Let me see if I can get a couple hundred more thousand on top of what I'm making right now.
Yeah.
That is not sustainable. It's not in a
poison.
Culture of, it is poisonous. And we mentioned it in our little our video on the street that we like laughing at Tennessee fans. I mean, it's always a big source of our entertainment.
Delicious. Yes.
But we really want quarterbacks in the SEC who are great quarterbacks, because it makes the season so much better. When Nico's having a great season and Lagaway's having a great season, Lenore Sellards coming on into his own. You got Jackson Arnold at Auburn. You got Nussmeier at LSU. Gunnar Stockton here at Georgia. There's lots of quarterbacks who we hope have great seasons, because it makes every week interesting, and it makes not even just Georgia games. We watch other games too. We want to watch LSU play Alabama and say, okay, Ty Simpson and Nussmeier, that's a good game. That's exciting to watch. We want to see that, and so we root for those guys, but we don't root for the fans, do we, Smooch?
we do not. No, we take great pleasure in torturing them, as a matter of fact. So.
But there's an off season coming up. We'll have some more to talk about, I think, next week about the roster, because some things are going to shape up, and it may be Georgia bringing some players in.
Could be.
And kind of talking about that a little bit. And as some of these interviews get going, we'll discuss that. Georgia baseball team just took 2 out of 3 from the number 1 team in the country, Arkansas Razorbacks. So they won 2 of those 3 games, walked off the other night, Sunday night in Athens. And so that's that. Georgia's basketball team just signed a couple of players. So they lost some players. And now they're kind of Mike White's got the recruiting going right now. So they're getting some good quality players in there as well.
Yeah, Mike White has grown the credibility now to he can replenish the cupboard better than any Georgia coach in the past, in basketball at least. So he's doing a magnificent job.
I agree. Folks, we appreciate all you guys on Twitter. Twitter this week was nuts. I'm like, we didn't realize all the stuff we sent out was
100,000 people, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we had so much just from the videos we sent out from the G-Day game. We appreciate you guys enjoying that. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is to connect with our friends, our fans, and give you guys some good stuff to talk about so we can enjoy it as well. It makes it more fun. And then also poke fun at our rivals and our brethren. I don't even know what happened in the other spring games. I have no idea. I don't know who played quarterback at Tennessee, or I don't know how what happened in Florida. I don't know any of that yet. That's stuff
I know
we can
that.
Talk about.
Alabama played 2-hand touch and only had like 100 people that they let in. It was a really odd. That? It was an odd thing.
What is that?
I didn't see any of it. I was just talking to some people on Sunday morning, some Bama fans, since I live here in Alabama. I've even got some audio. We'll show that. I'll share that on the next show of them kind of. They were not impressed with what.
So they didn't like that. They don't.
No,
they don't enjoy that part of what DeBoer's doing, do they?
No. They're the seat isn't hot, but it's warmer than it was this time last year.
Last year, he was going to have a better team than Nick Saban.
Yeah, Nick Saban was. He's going to be better than Saban. Yeah.
Yes, of course he would. All right. Love it. Thanks you guys for all you do. We'll talk to you soon on the next podcast for Smooch Moncrief. This is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.